Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're tuning in, you're probably someone who puts in the hours, right? You build your skills, you grind away, and you're constantly striving for that next level of growth. But what if I told you that just working harder isn't actually going to give you that massive, exponential professional leap you're looking for? Today, we're unpacking exactly why by looking at the infrastructure of power.
So, is success really just about putting your head down and working harder? I mean, most people genuinely believe that climbing the ladder is purely about grinding out more hours at the desk, trying to outsmart literally everyone in the room, or honestly just hoping to get lucky. But is that actually the case? The hard truth you have to realize is that you rarely lose because you lack skill. You actually lose because you lack social leverage. The stark reality here is that the real game, it's completely invisible. It is being played in quiet conversations and in closed-door rooms you aren't even in. In the real world, just having value isn't enough. Your value has to be recognized, positioned, and then transmitted through other people.
All right, so here is the roadmap for this explainer. There are really only 5 key multipliers that control this entire transmission process: networking, negotiation, selling, conflict resolution, and public speaking. Mastering these is exactly what takes you from being a replaceable cog to absolutely unavoidable.
Okay, let's jump right into pillar 1, networking, or more accurately, learning how to control the flow of opportunity. Notice the exhausting reality for most folks out there. They treat networking like this endless game of collecting business cards, gathering phone numbers, and spamming people on LinkedIn. It's just a numbers game to them. Now, contrast that sharply against the top 1%. They don't do that. Instead, they quietly position themselves as indispensable, strategic connectors of value between other people.
So the crucial takeaway here is that your true network is absolutely not your list of phone contacts. It's your control over introductions. You see, when you connect two people who can mutually benefit from each other, and you do it without expecting anything in return, you trigger this incredibly powerful social proof and reciprocity. Remember this: if you control who meets who, you control what happens next.
Moving right along to pillar 2, negotiation. This is the skill that fundamentally defines your day-to-day economic reality.
There is a massive psychological difference at play here. Most everyday employees avoid tension at all costs, right? They just accept whatever's offered because they want to stay nice and avoid rocking the boat. But look at how the wealthy operate. They view negotiation purely as value calibration. To them, it's not some aggressive conflict. It's simply a necessary step to ensure alignment and fairness.
To pull this off properly and finally get over that fear of loss, you need a reliable system. Always define these 3 parameters before you even step into the room. First, write down your actual measurable impact. Second, note your exact alternatives. And third, clearly define your walkaway point. Because let me tell you, if you don't define your value before entering a conversation, someone else is going to define it for you, and they're going to define it way lower.
I want you to treat this as a core rule to remember for the rest of your career. Unclear value is always underpaid. Let that sink in for a second. If you cannot articulate exactly what you bring to the table, the market will systematically discount you every single time.
All right, let's dive into the third pillar, selling. And to be clear, we aren't talking about hawking products here. We're fundamentally talking about moving minds. Think about your typical cliché salesperson. Instead of pushing solutions, arguing over features, and just talking endlessly like most people do, top performers win entirely differently. They win by diagnosing. If you can articulate the unaware problems better than the actual person experiencing them, you instantly build unparalleled trust. It gives them this profound sense of clarity and relief. People don't just buy solutions, you guys. They buy understanding. When you stop and ask yourself, okay, what problem is this person not fully aware of yet? And then you explain it to them perfectly, you win. It just proves that the best closer is, without a doubt, the clearest thinker. Let's move to the 4th pillar, conflict resolution. This right here is the absolute secret to maintaining aggressive momentum in any venture you take on. Look at the stark contrast in how people handle this. While most folks let emotional conflicts and bruised egos slow everything down to a grinding halt, true asset owners operate completely differently. They ruthlessly separate debate from execution to ensure certainty and direction. They absolutely do not let their feelings dictate the timeline of their success. Which brings us to the exact execution rule you need to start enforcing in absolutely every meeting from today forward. Debate fully, decide once, and execute fast. It establishes a culture where, look, agreement is entirely optional during the debate phase, but once that decision is made, commitment is absolutely mandatory. So the crucial takeaway is this really powerful truth you have to internalize. Indecision is always more expensive than disagreement. Seriously, a team moving incredibly fast in the wrong direction can easily course correct. But a team just standing still because they're terrified to disagree with each other, they're already dead in the water. Our fifth and final pillar on the agenda is public speaking. This is your ultimate tool to scale your authority and influence. Most people are completely terrified of judgment, so they avoid visibility like the plague and stay safely silent unless they are literally forced to speak. But the 1%? They use communication to actively shape perception and establish their status. Don't stay silent out of fear. You have to remember that the world fundamentally does not follow the best ideas. It follows the best presented ideas. And hey, you don't need to be a born orator to do this. Just practice this super simple 3-step structure in all of your communications, whether it's a quick email or a massive boardroom pitch. State the problem clearly, share your unique insight, and then call them to a clear action. Doing this will instantly amplify your authority and help you command any room. Always remember this fundamental law of leverage. If you can't move people, you simply cannot read them. It doesn't matter how brilliant you are. Your ideas are entirely useless if they just stay trapped inside your own head. Now, the undeniable math here shows exactly how these 5 power skills actively compound your effectiveness. Just look at these multipliers. We are not talking about working 10% harder. Networking literally gives you twice the opportunities. Negotiation gives you 1.5 times the income per deal. Selling doubles your conversion. Public speaking triples your reach. And conflict resolution drastically speeds up your entire execution. Let's put this into perspective and see what happens over 10 years with 2 people who have the exact same talent and put in the exact same amount of effort. Person A works hard linearly, gets their standard 10% raise, and hits a ceiling of roughly 25 lakh a year. But person B, the exponential thinker, they leverage these exact 5 skills. Through superior positioning alone, their effectiveness is multiplied 5 to 10 times, allowing them to cross into the 2 to 5 crore plus range. Same talent, completely different interfaces with the world. At the end of the day, wealth is not created by just doing more. It is created by being positioned better. So I'm going to leave you with this final challenge. Will you continue operating like a replaceable employee who is entirely dependent on linear effort? Or will you master this infrastructure of power, take control of your outcomes, and become absolutely unavoidable? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.